Our last speaker today, certainly not least, is David Veliz, who is the director and lead organizer for the Interfaith Coalition to Reduce Poverty. The coalition really has been at the forefront of advocacy to improve the Rhode Island Works program, going back 10 plus years. And we're grateful to have the coalition as a partner in this new effort. So go ahead, David.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you to the Raising Rhode Island Coalition. Thank you, Senator Murray and Rep. Handy and all the other senators and reps. Thank you also, Jillian and Desire, for your powerful, meaningful words and for sharing your story with us. I'm David Veliz. I'm the director and lead organizer of the Interfaith Coalition to Reduce Poverty. We are a coalition of faith leaders, advocates, community members, who, like all of our panelists, believe that we have a moral obligation to fight poverty and inequality in Rhode Island. And we believe that among our united faiths and among our different beliefs and within us, we know it's wrong to be poor. Not to be poor, but it's wrong that poverty exists. And like many of our speakers have spoken about, poverty is definitely a big problem in Rhode Island. If I'll just go over some of the stats that were mentioned, about 14% of children right now currently live in poverty, about 10% of adults. That number is twice as much when you're thinking about communities of color. About 30% of Rhode Islanders right now are living with housing insecurity, and 12% of Rhode Islanders are living with food insecurity. Now, obviously, the pandemic has worsened all of those things. It has magnified the inequality that exists already, so we're in a more troubling place. What I wanted to talk about really is, and I think Linda started to speak about this, is that as a society, we have become a little bit complacent, and poverty has become a little too normal. And I think we've put more value on corporations and companies more than people. And I think that proof of that is what Linda was saying, is that when we think about who is receiving public benefits, we have this false narrative in our minds that pop up about a single woman of color who is just trying to have an income. But the reality is that corporations and companies get a lot more tax dollars than any one person. So I think it's important for us to remember that although we definitely should do our part to fight poverty, that it's up to us to force the institutions and state government to pass policies like raising the Rhode Island benefit rate, which will lift people out of poverty. I would also say that this issue is really close to my heart. I grew up in deep poverty all my life. And as the doctor mentioned, and also Senator Murray, it has long-lasting impacts on children and adults, not having that sense of security. In fact, the institutional oppression and racism that perpetuates poverty is then perpetuated because you don't have the educational outcomes or the income outcomes that you need to not be in poverty. I hope I didn't turn that too much around, but you get it. You're poor, so you don't do as well, and so your children end up poor. It's crazy, right? It's unfair, and I think it's time that we right a 30-year wrong. I think 30 years is ridiculous. When I posted this, a lot of people were commenting how 30 years, it's ridiculous. 30 years ago, I was paying, my rent was 3 times less, food was less, everything was less, your cost of living was less. So the fact that people are trying to live on the same amount is ridiculous. I will also say that we need better for Rhode Island, and we can do better. Here in our state, we can do better for our children, for our families, if we start valuing people over companies and corporations who also receive benefits. So let's raise the Rhode Island benefit rate. Let's help lift people out of poverty. In fact, it's not going to solve the problem, but this is a great step. And we have a lot more action to take. So I encourage everyone who is participating in this event to please sign up for the Raising Rhode Island campaign. Please support the bills that Senator Murray and Rep. Handy are introducing so we can finally right this wrong. that's 30 years in the making. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. I know that many people now, when we tell them it's been 30 years, said, I wasn't even born 30 years ago, right? So it's really ridiculous that we haven't acted, and it's, I know with all the passion around this meeting and for folks who have signed up for the campaign, we're going to put this across the finish line.